under that fantastic moon. Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv. Do you know what Tel Aviv means? It means the city of spring. You kind of like that, don't you? All right, that's enough of that before I go mad. Reset that, man. We'll need that a little bit later on. I'm walking along this waterfront street in Tel Aviv. All right, I'll give you a fig legume with bronze oak leaf palm if you can tell me what is the what does Haifa mean? It has a meaning, you know. You've heard the term Haifa? It's a city which, by the way, looks like San Francisco squared. Haifa is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen anywhere in the world. Unbelievably beautiful city. This great bay laying down there, and that long curving arc of a shoreline, the hills climbing up, and those shady streets, and this peculiar kind of French quality to it. Haifa. What does it mean, huh? Yeah, you learn things. And I'm walking along this street in Tel Aviv. Now, I'll just give you one little moment where you get that kind of strange feeling that everything is a little bit out of focus. I'm walking along the street. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's Saturday in Tel Aviv. No, it's Friday night, really. It was Friday night in Tel Aviv. That's right. Maybe, no, wait a minute. Let me think now. Thursday night. That's right. It was Thursday night in Tel Aviv. And, boy, the place is roaring. I'll tell you, the life gets... It gets almost to a frenzy about 10:30, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and there are thousands of people just wandering the streets. It's very hot, you know. And people rise late in the morning in these cities, in these tropical, arid cities, and they stay up late, as you know, Corny. It's everything is moved down just a little bit in time. And you know, the stores close at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Tel Aviv, and that's it. Everything stops. And then it begins again at 4. The whole afternoon, they just cut that hot part of the day right out. And the traffic stops. The sidewalk cafes empty, and the trees just hang there. The sun is laying overhead. And once in a while, you see somebody walk by. And I'll tell you this. You have to see the girls of Tel Aviv to believe them. That's all I can say. That I can't say any more than that about them. I'll tell you what to use perhaps an analogy that might be more graphic. These chicks generally start where Sophia Loren stops. I mean, oh, wow, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the first 5 minutes I'm in Tel Aviv, I think it was the heat that was getting me, you know. At first I thought maybe it was the heat, or I was getting sunstroke, or maybe it was a mirage. But actually, you know, they would come by in singles, and then they would come by in pairs, and then they would come by in threes, you know. Sometimes they'd come by in squadron formation, you know. Chum, chum, chum. You could hear the finger cymbals. You see the muscles rippling up and down. Holy smokes. And I'm sitting there in the sidewalk cafe, you know, it's terrible. I swallowed a whole cup of Turkish coffee when the first crowd went by me, cup and all. There's something that the tropic does to the female figure. You agree with me, Carney? Yes, indeed. It's terrible. Oh, wow. Well, all right. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's Thursday night in Tel Aviv, and it's a full moon. I happen to be lucky to be there during the full moon, and the moon in the vicinity of the equator, particularly in the arid regions of the world. This moon stretches across the sky about 400 yards, and it is a silver, angry, white, brilliant, almost too bright moon. As a matter of fact, it gets very difficult, I understand, to get any kind of privacy when the moon is really in business. in certain areas of the country. And I'm walking along. You see, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. This is my third or fourth night in Tel Aviv. I'm just beginning to get the flavor of this. And of course, when most people go to these cities, unfortunately, they head for the big plush hotels. And you'll find most Mediterranean areas stretching all the way down from Beirut, places like Haifa. These are cities that are around the Med. Places like Piraeus, places like the Crete, the islands of Crete, the Isle of Rhodes, all along as you come stretching along the Golden Horn of the Mediterranean. There are these great hotels lying right on the ocean. Magnificent hotels. And the beaches, oh boy. Well, most people go to these. And too many people, I'm afraid, don't go into the city itself. Go working into where the non-tourist world is and where the real, where it's just happening, where people are just walking around and scratching. Of course, they do that here in New York City, too. Most of the tourists immediately head for Radio City. Then they go down and they take a look at the Statue of Liberty. And then they go down to Chinatown. But the whole great, vast area of the city that's just simmering there under the heat in the summer just never gets seen. I don't know how many tourists have ever seen Fordham Road in New York, or Pelham Parkway in heat. And this is I think if I ever wanted to show a tourist from a foreign country what it's really like in New York, I'd like to take him to magnificent Alexander's up on the Fordham Road at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon when the pack is out in full cry. In the bazaar. That's our native bazaar, And just take them through there, through the housewares division and watch the screaming and the yelling. Through the ladies' summer wear division. And just, of course, they would be as confused. A true tourist. Let's take a tourist from any country. Just let's say if I took a tourist from, let's say Nigeria. Over and I took him into magnificent Alexander's up on Fordham Road on a Saturday afternoon, and all the ladies have come piling in from Pelham Parkway down there. Their shopping bags going and their girdles creaking and their daughters dragging behind them. And all the kids named Maury is dragging behind them and yelling and hollering. Take him into the housewares division. And just try to explain. Of course, he would not have to be explained. He would understand this is the bazaar. And we all have our own bazaar. Now, you can spell it with an A or an I. Depends on how you approach it. But it's the same thing, and a half a yard wide. And I am now off the road, saying I'm walking along this main seaside road that goes on up to Jaffa. Jaffa is the Arab quarter of Tel Aviv. And I'm about halfway between Jaffa and Tel Aviv itself. And you could smell, when you get into the Arab quarter, there's another set of smells begin to settle in. To begin with, I went into this. You want to hear more about this later on? When I brought up that smell, I was reminded. This is WOR AM and FM New York. Will you hit the whoopee button?
Miller High Life, the bright, clear tasting beer. Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beer.
There's only one champagne of bottled beer. Sparkling, flavorful, distinctive. Miller High Life. Brewed from a century-old recipe, Miller High Life has a rich heritage and tradition. A bright, clear taste, unequaled, unquestioned, unchanging. Available on tap, in cans, and in familiar crystal clear bottles. Miller High Life is always sparkling, flavorful, distinctive. Enjoy Miller High Life yourself.
Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beer.
Yes, Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beer.
Hey, listen, Lee, will you leave a note to the Wilmouth people that I will not read a commercial that is directed towards women to tell their husband and to force him to go to Wilmouth. I refuse to do this. We have enough of a matriarchy already. We're not bending to it, so I won't do it. We have a note here about sports jackets, and they say that Woolworth, you do not have to spend a fortune. Your sport jacket will be designed to camouflage you. You will fit right into the poison ivy this summer, and they'll never know you're there. You can escape into the bushes anytime you want. In a Woolworth jacket. That's Woolworth and a yard wide. Wohlmuth, Woolworth, for magnificent custom-made sport jackets. Okay? In Newark, in New Jersey, of course, there's a Woolworth store at 849 Broad Street. Ask for old, friendly, smiling Sal. All right. Let's see. We've got Rover here. I don't know why that amuses me. We have Rover, the 2000 TC. It's a great car. And there isn't much I can say about it that I haven't already said. I can only point out to you that the delivery on the TC model has now begun to achieve some degree of regularity. That was first introduced at the fair here, the big automobile fair at the Coliseum, and since that time it's become one of the most difficult cars in the world. But you know that in Paris, I was just in Paris on my way back from Tel Aviv, and I was sitting around talking to a couple of guys that I know in Paris, and I found out that in that country, it takes 18 months to get delivery on a Rover 2000 TC. It is that much in demand. This is true throughout most of Europe, and as a matter of fact, I understand they're almost totally impossible to get in England today. England is trying to make a few bucks, and they're sending them all out of the country, and we're happy here. We can get them. You won't have to wait more than maybe 6 or 7 years. This is the Rover 2000. All kidding aside, it's a great car, though. It's a Rover 2000 TC, right? Let's see. We have Honda. I'm doing a special pronunciation. There's two ways to pronounce it. There's Honda for the people who can speak the language, and then there's Honda for the people up in the Bronx area. And for those of you who wonder what I'm talking about, it's the Honda, you know, those motorcycles. The Honda. And if you're planning to make the big step this year, I would highly recommend the visit to Fleischmann. They're all throughout the island. And incidentally, they're the biggest Honda dealer in the entire East. They have 5 locations. We have a note here. It says, for those of you who might have thought that insurance costs were pretty high on them, you can be insured now for as little as $24. I would suggest you consult with Fleischmann. They'll tell you about it. That's Fleischmann Honda. They're in Long Beach, West Islip, and Bayshore. And in Queens, that's Woodside. That's 1 mile west of the new Macy's, and they have one out in Douglaston, Long Island. They have all kinds of Hondas. And incidentally, this is the best time of the year to get a motorcycle. I can testify personally because I think I'm going to be going to the beach this weekend on my Super Hawk 304. And very angry machine. Okay? Let's see what else we have, Rover. Oh, that's it, huh? You want to return to the Middle East? You want to get back to that fantastic... Oh, bring it on there. Sneak it in there. You know, I have felt for a long time that the music of any given area of the globe tells more about that area of the globe than almost any other form of communication. The literature, the sculptor, the movies, because somehow there's something very basic about music. This really is the way the Middle East is, friend. Bring it up. I'm not kidding. It really is. Oh, wow. Well, I am walking along this street. This one little moment, though, that I even made a note of it. I wrote it on the back of a book that I was carrying that night. I'm walking along this street. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's hot. I can smell the Mediterranean. I can see the moon hanging over. And I'm coming down towards the Arab Quarter. And along this area of this street, which is only, it's really just populated on one side, because one side is the ocean, the other side is the city. It just abruptly stops right there. Are all these places. Now, I can't describe them any better than that because there's not really much of a parallel here in America, but they're sort of Places where you drink beer,